Happy Wednesday, everybody. I am so glad you are here with me today. Hi, Tanya, Michelle, Philippa, who is up in the way early hours, and it's dark and she's still in her PJs. Okay, folks, hopefully sound check is okay. You are going to hear a lot of noise because they are working on the roof and they are working right along my side of the house right now and overhead. And hopefully, I was just checking Tally. She is on the ottoman behind me. You can't quite see her. Let's see. There's Tally girl. She may start barking when she sees him outside the window. Hey, cat, you made it back. I hope you are in nice recovery mode. Have to leave 10 minutes early for a virtual doctor's appointment. Isn't it awesome that we can talk to our doctors virtually now for a lot of the cases? I am so pleased with that. A few weeks ago, I had a UTI, sorry, TMI, but it was really nice to be able to just do a virtual visit and go through all the steps and get the antibiotics and that kind of thing. I am not sure. We'll see how my voice does today. There is weird stuff happening. I don't know if it's my sinuses or what the heck's going on. So I'm anxious to see if my voice lasts for the full hour or not. I didn't even get dressed up for you guys today. I am just by 9 o'clock this morning, it was already insane around here, and we're going through the process of. I need to go switch my cameras around. Of getting what do you call that thing? Home equity line of credit. And so we've been, doing all that documents and all that kind of stuff. And there was something that was missing. So then we had to call the insurance agent and then he had to get stuff back to me. And the appraiser came by today. And so walking her through the house, hoping that it's worth as much as we said it was worth when there's all the construction going on. Whoa. So it's like, you just want to have takeout, junk food every night. And you can't do that because it's not healthy. But that's kind of the way we're feeling right now. So, hey, everybody, I am going to be making some drizzle stitches. I was going to be using these yarns, but I'm just not crazy about how thin they are for what I want to use them for. I've got my small wildscapes that really never went anywhere that I'm going to take out of the faux wood frames and put into something else. So I need some fill. So I've got this beautiful tweed. I think this was a Cascade yarn, but it's really great. It's kind of gritty. It's wool and something. And it's thick enough that I wanted them to stand up a little better. And then I can't find my drizzle needle. Do you guys have a favorite needle for certain things? I have a drizzle needle that is like this, it's fatter and it has a big loop, but it was long and I can't find it. These guys are not, these are more my Vine ones. They're not as fat as I want. Anyway, wham, 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 right? Wham, wham, wham. What's going on with everybody? Drizzle stitch reminder, very literally bring the thread up and you're just casting on one time. You're just going in the same direction all the time. And that's what gives it the little twist. And I like to use the thicker yarns because they stand up a little bit more interestingly. More interestingly, I don't know. Yesterday's excitement was that they cut holes in the living room wall and in my husband's office wall. And in my husband's office wall, they discovered many, 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 many years of rat stuff in there, which was not good. We did have everything when we first moved in. We had the house closed up, but I guess that had been left there from before. So that part's not fun. But they are prepping for the stucco and the insulation right now. So that's why it's kind of noisy. Tell me what is going on in everybody's life. Who is doing what? There's got to be stuff that's happening that's, I wouldn't say not as exciting as construction because I'm super excited. But it's funny, I'm almost more excited about the deck and the outside stuff because we're going to get rid of this humongous deck that we have had for years that you could have like four squares of square dancing. I mean, that's how big the deck is. It's huge, and we want dirt for plants. And I don't know why I did that because that's not what I need to do now. I need to stick it down. And so I'm just making little chunks of drizzles um, to kind of add to this new thing. It's going to be really nice, Michelle, when it's done. You're right. And getting rid of the grids on these windows is going to be nice. Of course, the windows are failing, so that's going to be good. And just kind of walking around with the contractor yesterday, it's like, okay, we want more insulation here, so they're ripping off more siding. And then the stucco will be better for the fire than we just have plywood siding right now. And then we've got a guy coming out tomorrow to give us a estimate on getting a mini heat pump set up just in the bedroom, because the AC doesn't reach back there and it's ungodly hot in the summertime and I just can't handle it. So we're hoping that now that we're going to have some attic space with the new roof, that we can get a heat pump going. Kat says, my art is on hold while I recover. I don't have the mental or physical energy to work on my embroidery. The best I can do right now is coloring in a coloring book, trying to keep up my spirits. I totally get that, Kat. I don't know if this is something that you could use in your art, and I don't have any handy, but I can make it handy. One of the things, when my knees were really bad, and I'm going to do this because I can use this on my white piece. One of the things I did when my knees were really bad and I just had to do something with my hands is I started taking fibers and just making knots. And that way I still had, because if you're anything like me, it's that touching of the fibers that does something. Hey, Martha, how are you doing today? And making knots gave me that fiber connection without having to think about, am I going to mess something up? And I just kept making knots. And if they were in greens, no, that's not one, they become a kind of a neat little fill. So I don't know. I throw that out there for you. You can use anything. I've done it with very, very fine threads. I've got some really hideous to stitch with metallic stuff that's super, super slippery. But it, and I do like 4 strands of it. Also, this is a good thing to do if you have a color that you're like, I'm not so crazy about it. Make a bunch of knots and then hit it with some paint. And that's another fun thing. So I always have a chunk of bulky yarn near my chair. So if I've got a migraine, this is something I can sit and do, because for me, I need to feel the fibers. That is what grounds me. Needle and thread through the fabric helps, but I really need to feel the fibers. Michelle is starting a small fabric vase with silk flowers I bought to tack it down. We'll probably make a card out of it. That's great. Just a thought, Kat. But coloring is good too. But I know what you mean. It's that you want to do something, but you just don't have the brains power right now. I've got a big box of knotted fabrics that I've painted, and I really do want to make into something. I was going to do vessels, but I might do more sculptural. I don't know. Martha said, I'm making felted strawberries for the Strawberry Festival this weekend. Did you have your big wildlife thing with your birds, with your hummingbirds? If so, I'd love to know how that went. I have Sudafed brain right now. So it's like I had to take Sudafed and Excedrin migraine this morning, and it helped my head. But then you have that kind of a lightheaded feeling. It's like I'd like to have the results that they give me every day, but not that spacey feeling. I was watching a Instagram post from Fleur Woods the other day, and she is so brave. She'll do all this work on a great big piece and then hit it with paint. And I still, I have to have a little bit of control on my paint. All right. Where is the other end of this? It doesn't want to come through. Martha said, I did, but oh, it poured all day and my tent leaked, but I made my money back. Oh my goodness, that is so frustrating. Ah, I just got the details on some of the stuff we have to do for Open Studios. I guess I didn't put that back down in the right spot. Oh well, I will be covering all that up. Michelle said it's supposed to be 88 degrees today. We hit 86 here yesterday. And right now the house is getting so hot because all the little bits of the overhangs we had are gone. Luckily we have the AC. Wow, I really have spacey brain. All right, let's do another chunk of that. I'm going to try this one too. I think this one's thick enough to do a good job. Yeah, I was like, okay, I'm gonna take all these little things out of their little faux wood frames and I'm going to put them in something else, which is a great idea, except I realized that I had done the little ones because I didn't have any more of that yarn. So now trying to find things that are going to match has been a challenge. Oh, no AC, Michelle. Yikes. Oh, where you are, and it gets so beastly hot. I feel for you. All right, I'll bring this guy up over here. Yeah, of course, where we are near the ocean, it's unusual to have AC. So we really were excited. I was not going to do that one in 2 strands, but I guess I am now. Yeah, so I'm just going to see. I think this will make it stiff enough. I like the drizzles for what I'm going to be using them for in these pieces to stand up. And then I have to maybe we'll do vines next week. I don't know. I was going to work on white, and then I just realized I did not have the brain power to kind of plan out what I was going to do next on the white one. But I've been making a lot of white components, and what I thought was going to be like a 12 by 12 is now going to be more like a 2 by 3, which is kind of exciting to think, because I haven't done a white one that big. Last night I started taking a whole lot of components off of my white one because what I had was something that ended up I worked too far out into the hoop in the round, so everything just looked and then I had this raised piece in the center, and I realized I was hiding something that I didn't like, and it was just because I'd started it a long time ago, and I know so much more now, but it looked like a bullseye, which was not the look I was going for. Martha said, Sue, I have the exact same felting pad you're working on. I love this little thing. It's a workhorse, isn't it? I actually was going to start playing with needle felting some little mushrooms, but again, I have to do that, something like that on the weekends. I have to concentrate the first, few that I do because I haven't done it in so long. And you just can't do that kind of concentration with all the stuff going on around here. I don't know how my husband does his day job. I saw them. Yeah. And it was a reasonable price to be such a workout horse. It's just really nice to see things like that hold up, that do well. It's like our stuff right now, working with the loan for the line of credit for all the construction. We are absolutely loving working with Navy Federal Credit Union. We can't believe how good they have been through this whole process. And it's just so nice when something is better than you expect. Whoops, it slides. I didn't put anything underneath for traction. Can you guys hear them thumping overhead? I'm never quite sure what sound carries. Well, the hammering, yeah. And they open one thing up and then you see something else. It's like, okay, now we have to address this. I'm like, oh. Very little noise. Oh, good. I'm glad. Hopefully, knock on wood, hopefully they won't start drilling and that kind of stuff right outside, because my husband said I got to go shopping because they were doing that earlier right outside his office door. Right now, I feel a little bit, no, a lot bit scattered all over the place. All right, that one I left way too much space, so let's take those off. I want to be a little bit more focused on getting to the finish line on some stuff, but I think maybe that'll be planning that has to happen over the weekend. How big are the little strawberries that you're doing, Martha? Hey, Tanya, are you lurking back there because you're working, or are you lurking because of something else? Because I saw you were here. The other day, I was celebrating because I finally got my approval letter on my Social Security. So I got my first, they gave me a back check because it had taken them 3 months to do it, which was nice. Life size. Oh, cool. I just want to make some little brown mushrooms to go in my little terrariums. Kat, I finally started working on my terrariums. I've got a couple different types of dirt that I'm doing, but I was thinking of you while I was working on them yesterday. Kat says huge crowd. Oh, for getting the Social Security. It's like, how long is it going to take? And so I'm very, very happy that we finally got that money. And then we know what's going to be coming in every month. We can make the tax adjustments we need to make. Tanya says, credit unions have always surprised me by how much they make their customers feel valued. Banks always all seem to feel like there are 100 more ways, 100 more where you came from. Yeah, exactly. And we thought, I can't, dinner is here too, so I can't type as much for a bit. Totally get it. I just didn't want you to feel left out. We have a good relationship with the mortgage holder, but they weren't doing line of credits. They said they'll bring them back next year. And they wanted us to, basically refinance. And, we have a 3.5% mortgage rate. There's no way we were going to refinance and use that. So we have we had 2 credit unions that we have accounts with, but Navy Federal, probably the only decent thing I got out of my ex-husband, my second ex-husband, was that membership. And they've just been amazing. So see, this is doing what I wanted. So I'm just doing 2 strands, and this is just a cheap worsted weight yarn, but that's fine. For something like this, where it's more of a decorative item rather than the stitch, a worsted acrylic works just fine. Kat says, congrats on Social Security as well as working on terrariums. Yeah. Yeah, I just got the first layer in the terrariums, kind of brainstorming, but a friend of mine that does a ton of thrifting, I told her what I was looking for. If you're lurking, Beth, while you're at work, hi. Found I wanted some big ones. I had a couple small ones, but I wanted some big ones. So she found me a bunch. I'm excited to start figuring out what to go next. But again, I need lots of components. And I keep trying to work small so that I can, do the more delicate things like that. And I don't know. I just, I think I would have better luck needle felting tiny leaves rather than doing stump work, but I might give it another shot. I haven't tried for a while. So I was looking, Kat, at your videos over on Instagram with your beautiful string of leaves and the various stump work you've done. And I guess I'm just too klutzy, or maybe I'm too impatient, or both. It could be both. I'm not paying attention here. All right, that was a little taller. I cut this a little longer. It's funny though how two credit unions can be so different, because we also have Key Point Credit Union, and when we were trying to refinance, they were horrible to try and deal with. We said, we'll just stick with Wells Fargo. We just have different favorite mediums. Yeah, I'm going to try it again. I think I just do not have the patience, probably. Tanya said, the video you shared this week was mind-boggling. How on earth have you found the time to create so much? Because I'm spoiled rotten, because I am, nearly 67 years old, and this is all I do all day. And when I say spoiled rotten, my husband does the grocery shopping. My husband does the cooking, and he does a lot of the cleaning. I do the decluttering and he does the deep cleaning, although we are going to hire some cleaners when the construction gets done, now that we have a dog that can tolerate people in the house. So I'm very, very, very spoiled is how I do it, and very grateful. But see, I'm slow. I look at what other people do. The stuff that I briefly showed, a long, thin wall hanging in the back area. Oh, the yellow one? Sure, I can show you that. Hold on a sec. I'll go grab it. It's just right around the corner. Is this the one you mean, Tanya? It's about 4 feet long. She's been really good sitting back there with all the noise. And there's so much of it I love. But this was some material I dyed, and I'm just not sure how I want to finish the edges. There's a lot more stitching that needs to go on it. And so I stopped because it's like, it's going to need something at the edges, but I'm just not sure what to do. So let me know if something comes to you. Michelle said, Susan, have you seen that piece of driftwood with green moss stitched with French knots? It's on Pinterest. I thought of you right away. It looks about 6 inches and is shaped in an arch. Anytime I see that sort of a thing on Pinterest, I stick it on my moss art board. So it could be on there. It's funny you say that about the driftwood, though. Yesterday, I took out all my wood, all my driftwood and all my different sizes, because I'm going to stain it so it's got more of a dark, wet look to it, like it's been found in the woods. And I pulled it all out yesterday. I've got, and basically to kind of get reacquainted with what I had too, because I think I want some more. Oh, if one of you want to send me the link so I can check it out, I would love to. So Tanya, that piece that I showed, that long piece, is where I realized stitching with them, because that's all with embroidery floss. There's no yarn on there, and that the embroidery floss and pearl cotton. But I think that was kind of where I said, it's enough. But I do love it, and it fits just perfectly in the corner. And I just need to, I don't have any fabric, because it's something I dyed, and I think I dyed it with like my mismatch of like dumping all my junk in one thing. So it's probably got not color fast stuff in it. I'm just not sure what to back it with. Maybe a brown, but it needs something, because otherwise it's going to probably unravel in spots. Yeah, so the driftwood, I know I've had this conversation probably here before. Any of the woods, it's like, I love the look, of course, of wood. It belongs in a terrarium. It belongs in, a forest scene, but how long is it going to last? Do I have to worry about it disintegrating and then falling into all the stitches? And that's something that does concern me. It is some eye candy. I really love it. It includes all the things I really enjoy. You know, it's got my feather stitch. It's got my little bullion knots. It's got my French knots. It's got my fragments of things like I used to use in my clusters. So it's got all the things I love. And yeah, I'm going to have to get back to this one of these days. Well, I do have, I mean, I made my book of all my projects to finish, and then I keep finding more old stuff, but then deciding to expand my white piece, which I posted. Did I post it someplace? I think I posted on Instagram, and I posted it on my community page on YouTube. Oh, I just found in my junk mail today, I found a thing from YouTube where they're doing this thing called communities. Hey, Wendy. And it sounds like we can have like a more of an interaction where you guys will be able to post pictures and things. And it'd be really cool if we could do the YouTube stuff on YouTube. Do I take photos of everything I make? Absolutely. Many photos through many stages. And it's funny because when I've done a couple of, like when I did the Fiber Arts Take Two podcast, I went back through years. I was able to show like the progression. I don't think we ended up showing a lot of that kind of stuff, but I was able to show the progression of my career. And I have another podcast I'm going to do in July. And I'm going to have to go through all those photos again. And then when a piece of art is complete and ready to go for sale, I do take it to a professional photographer and have him shoot it, because I never know if I'm going to do something else with it. Is it going to get entered into a show? Is it going to maybe be printed as something, you know, as a print or card or something? So I always want to have high quality photos done with all the perfect lighting that I don't have to stress about. I used to do a lot of photography like 15, 20, yeah, about 15 years ago, I guess, and just totally got past it. Oh, come on. Hopefully you're going to pull through okay. Hey, Barbara, how are you doing today? She had soul collage today. So you are all artfully motivated today. What was your prompt today? Let's see. I swear I don't struggle like this as much when I'm doing these off camera. It's not a struggle. It's just like, See, now if I just do a few drizzles like this, it doesn't excite me. I need to have a big old pile of them. So that's just me. All right. What am I using? I'm using this one. Just make. I've been wrapping pipe cleaners lately with a lot of stuff. I almost brought those over today, and I guess I got sidetracked on that too. But it's so great if it's something that's kind of a pain to get through the eye of a needle. I'll try wrapping it around a pipe cleaner, and then you can manipulate it in your art however you want. So I've been doing that with a lot of odd white things that I have. It says all green, actually. It's just shades of green. Well, this is like a gray green. It's more of an olive green, and this is a gray green. So these are just little bits that I can then cut apart later. Barbara said, my soul collage has a girl on a pogo stick with the world tree in a circle behind her. A bit of music, lots of symbols. Of course, the music for you. Those are your colors. Yeah, the blues and greens are gorgeous, although I like the earthy stuff too. I don't need a bigger knot. Yeah, wrapping pipe cleaners. Do I have any handy? No, I don't. I mean, so this is a weird something that I wouldn't stitch with, but when I wrap it, it becomes something different. So if I wrap that around a pipe cleaner, it becomes something different that I can manipulate. The other thing I do with yarns that are weird like this is my knots, because you don't have to worry about, is it going to fit through the eye of a needle. Tanya said, I tried photography back in the knots. I came to believe it's something you really have to love in order to excel at it. I am only fond of it. Yes, I agree totally. When we started our native garden back in San Jose, that was when I got into photography, so that I could identify the birds. Well, so I could learn to identify the birds. And so it was good for that, and I'm glad that I did it, but I did not want to work that hard at taking pictures. I love my new Pixel Pro phone, and I can put it in pro mode and do the little bit of adjustments that I want. But after that, yeah, I just did not want to. When I took Lightroom off my computer, I knew I was done. Barbara said, yes, our last song circle of the summer is Friday. I'll be in withdrawal till September. Aw. Michelle said, Tanya, a drone would be fun, but maybe complicated. That pale drizzle looks like a bubble fungus when you roll it up like that. A bubble fungus. I don't know what a bubble fungus is. I'm gonna have to look it up. Yeah, that's something, if you make a really long drizzle and you can like tack it down in spots, it's kind of neat too. I'm sure you have music going all the time, Barbara. Oh, I just realized it's nice and quiet because the guys are at lunch. Barbara said, Tanya, I used to love photography, but the new digital photography is not as much fun as that old, camera I used to own. I was always aware I was taking better pics than I was a photographer. Yeah. Yeah, I think if you fell in love with it before the digital age, it would have to be quite a shift. Hey, Aunt Beck, how are you doing today? Oh, to always remember, as you're making the drizzle, it looks really long here, but once you pull it through, it's going to shrink. Barbara says, I have music going on in my head all the time, not so much in room around me. Oh, really? Wow. Beck says, Greg loves photography. Do you ever get all your remodeling done, all your floors? Michelle said, I was in the camera club in high school in the 1970s. One of my friends was in the camera club, and then she went on to become the staff photographer at a major university. So for her, Greg is her son. Okay. Yeah, I'm very happy to pay the photographers to do all the really important stuff now. Very happy. Let's see where else I can come up. Oh, still working on it. Wow. Yeah. Oh, well, I admire that you're doing it yourselves. There's no way we could. That's why we're, got the crew here working on the outside of our house, because there's nothing. I mean, we've got all the little honeydew items that we save for when the contractor's here, because we are just not handy people for that kind of stuff. The yard, yes. The house, no. Barbara said, I used to be a professional photographer in the 70s. My hubby and I had a dark room. Wow, that's dedication, or part of your job. Tanya said, that's a bit of my lack of love for it was the digital revolution. I loved my old analog cameras, and the digital stuff feels too manufactured to me. Still, I admire those who love to do it. It's an art like everything else. Beck says, we are loving the new hardwood we are putting down. Scott and I do everything together. That's amazing. Hubby and I do all the yard stuff together. I'm kind of excited. When the construction's done, we'll have electricity and water on the small side yard outside the studio. So I'll be able to set up a bird fountain for the birds and all the plants out there. And hopefully they got approval from the engineer to extend the overhang outside the studio so I can put a little rocking chair out there. Barbara said we had our customers and clients, lots of progress photography on building projects. Oh, cool. Michelle said textile collage, slow stitch, and art journaling are my favorites, and dyeing fabric. I still have a small stash of dyed fabric to stitch on one of these days. I'm really trying not to start anything new until I finish more of the stuff for Open Studios. Got an email from the Arts Council about all the stuff today, and whew, there's a lot of things to do. Tanya said, I foresee a 24-hour bird fountain live stream. Well, we have cameras set up at the bird section on the other side of the house, but we don't run it live all the time. I just share little things. Barbara said, oh, Michelle, now see, that excites all of my imagination now. Beck said, I would love to have a deep front porch added to this house. You know, deep enough you could sit out there even in a rainstorm. Oh, that sounds blissful. We have along this long bank of windows, it's covered, not enclosed, but I would love an enclosed porch, which we see a lot down towards the beach. Oh, Martha said we have a little pond in our backyard off the deck. The birds and frogs like it. Yeah, see, I made a couple of ponds at our old house, and we are making plans to do that here as well. But we had to sort of revamp where we were going to do things. Still kind of trying to figure it out because of Tally, because she loves to dig, which is fine. I mean, that's part of her nature of being a husky, you know, so we want to let her have her digging spots, but she also likes to get into, you know, the areas that we have closed off. So we're trying to contemplate where we're going to do things in areas that either she can be fenced off by a higher fence, or we can always, I don't know. So we've got two other, when we're done, I think we're going to have 4 or 5 water features. Michelle said, would love to have a sunroom. Yeah, our little sunroom isn't actually a hanging out spot, but it is, I guess it could also be called a mud room. I would have loved to enclose with screens, and I still might see if they'll do that in part of the deck out back. But then my husband doesn't like to sit outside like I do. But we did a pondless water feature at the old house. And if you, because, you know, it's like you start thinking about a pond and all the maintenance to go with it. Well, we got the water reservoir we got had a nice size lip all the way around the edges. And so what I did is, instead of filling it with fat pebbles to hide all of that, I balanced pieces of thin slate, very, very thin ones, so that then there was still like a 1/2 inch of water, which was plenty for the birds and the other critters to come up to. And you couldn't see the edges of the reservoir. And so it looked like a pond, except we didn't have to deal with that maintenance. We always had moving water. Barbara said, Martha, love a little pond. Love it when the frogs come by. I can hear them at night now. We had a tree frog on one of the glass doors the other night. I don't know where he came from. Barbara said, my honey Linda is building a catio for our cat that's going to go in the second window of my studio. Oh, nice. Martha said, nice, Barbara. Love hearing the tree frogs here in Vermont. You can hear a lot of the frogs right across from us. Across the road from us, there's a gully. So, of course, in the summertime, when all the windows are open, there's always a little bit of water down there, so we can hear the frogs. But I'm sure they'll come up here once I get the water features in. Once that we put the bubbling features in, because the pondless feature, we also had a bubbler, a big rock bubbler, so the birds could go to the bubbler or they could go down below. And I think it's what sold the house for us, because we had two of those in the backyard that we joined together so it looked like a much larger area, and then one in the front yard. And the gal that bought the house was just in love with it. Wow. So, okay, 40 minutes and I can already hear the stuff in my voice. I can't wait to see the doctor on Friday and say, where do I need to go to figure out why my voice keeps doing this? I mean, I used to do talks for, where I'd be at conferences and I'd give like a 1 hour talk and then I would be talking all day as I was wandering around. Michelle said, Martha, my father lived in Swanton, Vermont growing up. My mother-in-law is from someplace in Vermont. I can't remember where. Hydrate, hydrate, hydrate. The other day they were hammering along the window and I have blue plates normally hanging across the window. Luckily, my husband realized just in time that the plates were shaking and we got them off the wall before something fell off and broke. And of course, because this house was so poorly put together, the more they're hammering and walking on the roof, little stuff is falling everywhere. Barbara said, I love the water features, any and all of them. We at first made a pond out of an old wine keg. When we put fish into it, we then had to protect them from the marauding blue herons. Yeah, when we had, I put lilies in one of the water features at the old house and the raccoons came and tore everything up to get to the lilies. I won't make that mistake again. We had mosquito fish in one of the other ones too. Whoops. Yeah, see, I'm starting to like it better. Barbara said, you ask yourself to talk a lot on this stream. I don't know if my voice could take it. Well, it's just interesting because it used to not be an issue. I regularly would go do school visits where I talked nonstop for an hour. And then I would, go around to the classrooms and spend time with the kids, or I would be at a conference and I would give a 1 hour, lesson. And then I would have to wander around and talk to people, and I didn't have this problem. So I don't know. I took a throat coat beforehand. I can take throat coat tea after, which will be good. Martha said we are in one of the most southeastern towns. Sometimes I don't care if they go wonky, and sometimes I do. So that one's just got too much space in between. Barbara said you need lots if throat coat tea nowadays helps if you drink it during singing. Yeah. Yeah, and I have a phone date with a friend that I only talk to every few months after this. So I told her, I said, I need 15 minutes so I can go to the bathroom and make my throat coat tea. But at least this week I can take it. Last week, because I knew I was going to have blood work done, they didn't want me taking anything with some of the herbs that are in the throat coat tea. But I did get all my blood work back after my first 3 months on statins, and all the numbers they wanted to have dropped dramatically. So that was good. And my biggest fear was that it was going to push me into diabetes, which they say is one of the potential side effects of this statin. And luckily it did not do that. So it's like, gosh, I'm working so hard to exercise and eat right. But throat coat tea is awesome. All right, this is coming together. I'm always, when I first start doing these, I'm like, I don't like drizzles. I don't like drizzles. I realize I like drizzles when they are masked. I am a maximalist. another friend mentioned yesterday. See, they just look better to me when they're like that. And when they're really long and lots of them drooping. Okay. Sudafed, though, Spacey head. Keeping the diabetes at bay with your food choices. Yeah, I'm sure, because we don't eat dessert like we used to. There's a lot of stuff we don't do that we used to do. And, I've lost 30 pounds so far. I'm exercising regularly. I'm doing cardio. I'm doing weights. So all the stuff that I wished I had started doing like 40 years ago. But, better late than never, right? I just was pissed. I thought the numbers of everything would be a lot lower for my A1C because of everything I've been doing. So it tells me that if I hadn't been doing stuff that I've been doing, that I'm sure it would have pushed me over. But I was well under. I just wanted better numbers considering what I was doing. Better late than never. I'm still enjoying line dancing twice a week. Yep, you're right. I mean, it's the idea that, we more movement is always better. And I tell you what, that year and a half where movement was so painful was really, really hard. When we see it out in the yard, I see plants that I normally would have taken cuttings from and started in different places. And with our natives, of course, we don't do that in the summertime. I don't do any planting in the spring or the summer. My planting time is November, October, late October and November before the rains come. And stuff that, I'm 2 years behind of things in the garden, which is fine. I mean, we have a plan for this year. It's really nice. Like with all the construction stuff going on, I don't have to think twice now. If my husband's in a meeting, I can just grab Tally and go for a walk to get her away from all the noise, where, 2 years ago, I couldn't do that. A year ago, I couldn't do it. I started in October. Now if we could just figure out why the tip of my tongue always feels like it's burnt, or like I bit it really, really hard. I have no idea what's about that, but it's probably related to my dry mouth. Tell you one thing is having all this health stuff now, all these lessons that I wish that I had learned when, I was younger. Yeah, Kat, huge accomplishment with the walking, being able to move. I understand now when my PT guy, and I've graduated now, I'm working over with his wife as a trainer, said, when you hurt, the best thing you can do is move. Your body is made to move. And I know when I start aching, it's like, wait a minute, I didn't go for a mile walk today. Martha said, Michelle, California is beautiful in lots of places. My sister lives in San Francisco. I'm only a few hours away from San Francisco. Michelle said, do you have osteoarthritis in your knees? Yes, in my knees, in my back. I've got some compression happening in my back in a couple places. I have plaque, moderate plaque on one side of my neck, but my heart's good. So all the things to try and keep stuff under control. Because I don't really know my dad's medical history, since I don't know him and he's since passed on. I have no idea if something like that is hereditary on his side of the family. But, it's never too late to get started doing any of that stuff. And the gel shots in my knees were the best thing I could have done, because that helped me a little bit get rid of the pain enough that when I went to PT, I could do all the stuff he asked of me. And he got me strong enough that I was done with that. And then I moved over to work with his wife because, she's got me um, doing tons of stuff that I never could have done before. I mean, I'm bench pressing, I'm leg pressing, I'm planking. But that kind of stuff, things that maybe they teach kids better now, but, you know, we didn't have a nutrition class to speak of. I have always had bad eating habits, so trying to correct those. I've corrected a lot, but I still don't eat enough fish, which is really silly considering how close we are to the ocean. Barbara said, no, never too late. On my 80th birthday, I decided I simply had to find a form of exercise I liked. I used to love line dancing and found a bunch of beginner line dancing for seniors. Perfect. That's awesome. Well, we live in such a beautiful area for walking, other than the hills, which at least now I can do. Um, that it was really sad when I realized I could not go walking with my husband and the dog. So when I first walked into PT, he said, "What's your goal?" I said, "I want to be able to go for walks with my husband and my dog." And that was what we worked toward. Now it's a matter of I just want to get in better shape. Although this continual shopping for clothes, I bought a pair of jeans like a month and a half ago. I was like, okay, good. So I was going to an event. I could, wear the jeans. They're too big now. And it's not that I'd lost much more. It's just that everything's firming up and getting tighter. Barbara said, the first couple months I went line dancing, I could not stand through an entire dance. Now I can and can recover in between. It rebuilds this body. Yep. And, the PT guy and my ortho guy both said again and again, your body is built to move. When it stops moving, it's going to start hurting. And so the answer to that is to move more. Just absolutely move more. And it really does make a difference. I had to buy heavier weights because the weights I bought to first start working out with them at home were too light for me. I didn't. And when my husband was doing something, he was putting, I don't remember what he was doing, but he was rubbing my arm. He's like, "Ooh, you have bumps here." You have bumps here. You have muscles, which was kind of fun. Yeah, Barbara says that's the key. When it stops moving, it will start hurting. Exactly. All right, now this is starting to take shape. So see, I'll cut this off of the wool and then I'll weave. Dang, I don't have any of it around here, but I'll weave some little fuzzy eyelash stuff in between there. What do we want to do now? Let's make sure we knock these guys off. Oh man, still have spacey Sudafed brain. Wow. I think what I want to do now are just some little ones. And what I like about doing some of these like this is, I can do this and not worry about where I'm going to put it yet. So then it just goes in my little box of components. And when I need a little filler, but I know I need a bunch of these. I need to do this times about 30. So what's that mean? 30 hours just to get the first set. And then I need to do vines. And then I'm going to have to do, I think I'm going to do some needle felting around the edges to fill the space because I've got a ton of wool. I was so sad. One of the Flock, which is a shop that I have bought a lot of my wool sheets, fabric sheets from, is no longer going to carry the yardage. I bought my last little bit from them. I have time to do one short one and show you what I mean. Oh, just as the guys are back from lunch. That's good because it's probably just about the time that it's going to start getting noisy. So I'm going to do is just some little probably half the size of what's there now. And what does two things, it'll kind of, it'll fill the edges, but it'll also help keep some of the stuff from flopping more than I want it to. I like my vines to flop and the drizzles to be a little more upright. Yeah, I think that's going to be enough there. So see, that'll add. So I do that around the edges. That'll add and it'll kind of keep these guys up. And I think that is about it for me today. I don't know what I'll be doing next week. I could still be doing this. Okay, guys, thanks for hanging with me today. If you haven't already, please leave a thumbs up. That's always nice of you. And I hope you have a really creative week. I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye for now.